Hi, Shainul. Thank you very much for taking part in the Business Spotlight series.
Hi Ed, thanks for having me.
Well, great to have you. I'm looking forward to finding out more. So, on that note, I'm going to hand it over straight over to you to introduce yourself and what you do.
Okay, so I'm Shainul Kassam, and I'm a corporate and commercial solicitor, and I run a law firm in central London called Fortune Law. And I started this, I think about 18 years ago now. I lose count or lose track of the years. When I was a few years qualified and just very eager to start my own business and do things in the way that I thought, I knew best how to do and to service those clients. So yeah, that's the firm. We're a boutique firm, and we specialize in advising founders and entrepreneurs primarily. That's sort of the mainstay of our business in our client base. And we do a number of things in terms of providing services. We basically deal with terms and conditions, raising financing capital, buying and selling businesses, protecting IP, all the kinds of things that a startup business or a growing business needs assistance with.
Fantastic. And look, 18 years is a great amount of time. What was the impact of COVID on the business?
That's interesting. So we were extraordinarily busy just when COVID hit, in the sense that we had clients who were in the middle of transactions. And so therefore we got very busy trying to make sure that those transactions got completed, because we didn't want clients to run the risk of losing out on what they'd instructed us to do. So we were manic actually those first few months. And then, everything just sort of fell off a cliff after that, because businesses, once they'd completed what they were in the middle of, had to then take stock and decide, well, are we actually going to put in place these plans that we had? Are we going to buy that business? Are we going to hold off from that investment? Are we going to stop recruiting? Are we going to how are we going to manage our landlord? So they had different issues and different problems to solve. So the work that we thought that we would be doing was very different to what we actually ended up doing. So that was tricky. We also did a lot of supporting of our clients because they were going through uncertain times,
Hmm.
and we were going through uncertain times as well. So it sort of was a situation where we were advising ourselves as a business, but then also using that knowledge to advise our clients as well, whether it was on furlough or government schemes or lending or anything related to bounce back and so on. And as I said, negotiating with landlords and just trying to figure out the new landscape, really. And then it was tough because I'm a mum of two. So I was managing the firm from home, trying to keep, everyone's spirits up. But at the same time, I was homeschooling. And yeah, it was very tricky. It was a
Yeah.
very challenging time, I've got to say.
Yeah, a test of sanity.
Yeah,
I,
absolutely. Oh, yeah. And then we decided to do a building project at home as well. So add that to the mix.
Fantastic. And then, in terms of the situation with COVID, were there any measures that you took or any different approaches you took that you're still doing now?
Well, hybrid working.
Yeah.
So it's just obviously at the forefront of my mind. Use of technology. So we do have offices, but we're not always there. And so people come and go as they want to. And so, some of us are in during the week, some of us are working, 2 days at home, and so on. So that's we've kept flexible working completely. We've not asked anybody to come back. And so people do come back as they want to, and there's been no real impact on work. So that's good. And then the technology we put in place, I mean, we already had it, but we weren't really all of us using it because we didn't need to. When we had to do things like, we do a lot of KYC, know your client, identifying
Mm.
people and so on. That was always done at the office. People would come in and have a first meeting. All that went out of the window
Mm.
during COVID. So we then obviously had to put in place technology, sort of platforms, client identification, online, things like that, signing documents, all of those different things. So although we had access to it all, we just weren't using it. And now we just don't do it any differently.
That's great. I think it's great when you can see ways to save time for everybody. And again, I think it's really interesting when you've got a business that's been established for a while. I'm always curious of, okay, so what are the aspirations for the next 5 years?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's interesting to see new businesses coming out with all this, these sort of big plans. And I think for us, we're a services business. We're an advisory business. So it's really, people are coming to us, for the quality of our advice. And so that doesn't really require necessarily a scaled up solution. And I think we're quite unique in our business and with our business model, because we specialize in company commercial work, but we do sort of a slightly wider range of commercial services. And we are usually, sort of up against very large city firms, but our clients are entrepreneurs and founders, and they don't have the budget or the resources to manage a large law firm. And so that's why it works really well for us, because, we've got the experience, the expertise, but not necessarily the cost or the size or the formality, I would like to say as well. So we're not really trying to scale, but what we are trying to do is to make sure that we're providing the best service. So we do that in a number of ways. And one of the biggest ways we do that is partnering with the right so whether it's barristers and chambers when we've got a litigious matter, whether it's creating sort of alliances with international law firms where we've got a client who has potentially maybe got a dispute in a different jurisdiction, or who is entering into a distribution agreement in the States, or if they're raising funding in the States, or if they are, I don't know, needing tax advice in sub-Saharan Africa. We've got this sort of network that we've built up of not large, but sort of, competent, but not massive organizations that can help them with their sort of international aspirations. So it's not necessarily a case of us sort of, growing in size, but in growing in sort of reach, really.
That's interesting. And in terms of the actual clients you work with, obviously you mentioned that lots of them might be sort of startup and different entrepreneur side. Is there a typical sort of size of firm that you work with?
Well, I guess there is. I mean, when I look at it, I obviously look at the people behind the business, right? So for me, my clients are these named individuals that I build a professional relationship with and a trusted advisor relationship with. But I guess people come to us when they're a founder with an idea. So that will be one person with a great idea, and then they will build a team and an infrastructure around them, and we will help them do that. And on the other side of it, we'll have clients who are sort of 10 million turnover or valuation, and they'll be exiting and selling their business. And along the way, they'll be raising money, either sort of through their own shareholders, or they will be raising money through external financing as well. So it could really literally be the person with the idea to a much larger business, where somebody's, or the team or the board are exiting.
That's great. Yeah, lots of variety then. That's good.
Yeah.
And look, on the other side of it, in terms of, we talked a bit about the aspirations, what would you see as the upcoming challenges for the business?
So I feel that obviously we're in a situation right now where financially things are tough for people. So I can see already that happening. And I'm to a degree concerned about my clients as much as I am concerned about, our firm. I don't have a real concern that, we're going to struggle or anything, but we have to be mindful of, sort of access to finance and finance for our clients equally. I suspect that our work flow will change slightly. I think there'll be some more disputes coming our way in terms of when people, when cash is scarce, people start to question their business relationships. So that does happen, and that's quite cyclical. So I see those as challenges. And I think we just have to be mindful about cash flow in our own business as well as a result of that, because, things get tighter client side, it's going to have a sort of knock-on effect. Recruitment's always a challenge. I mean, I don't know if you read any of the press around law firm salaries, but if you want to be hiring, sort of people who are sort of high intelligence and driven and determined and have got great client care skills, which is what we are interested in, that's always going to be tough, because you'll be competing with some serious law firm contenders who've got much bigger budgets. So I think those are probably, the changing economic climate and recruitment in general.
Yeah, well, thank you. That was very interesting. So it was good to get different insights. And
Mm.
on a slightly different but connected note, I guess, again, we're talking about, you've had the business for a long time. What would you say has been the biggest learning over that time?
I think that the challenges stay the same, actually, whether it's sort of pipeline, deliverables, cash flow, team, all of those things stay the same. You're always going to have these challenges. There's no business that isn't dealing with all of these issues, one day of the week or another. So I think what it really is making sure that you understand that, and understanding that when you start a business, your learning curve is literally vertical, right? So everything is sort of doing everything, and then as time goes on, what you have to do is you've got to manage all of those different moving parts, and to keep progressing those moving parts. So you can, when you first start a business, you've got, right, I've got all these plates I'm going to spin, and you don't even know what the plate is. Then you work out what the plate is, you spin it for a bit, and then you get focused on the next plate. And if you don't go back to this one, that's when it all starts to unravel. So I think that one of the really sort of important things to realize is that you've got to keep all the plates spinning all the time at different times, but you can't take your eye off the ball. So you can have a shiny new website one year and everything's perfect and your branding's great, and then you start focusing on something different for the next year, and you've got to go back to that shiny new thing because it's not shiny anymore. So I think that's the journey, really. It's not, you don't tick it off the box and then it's done.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you said before, I think about things being cyclical, and there's definitely something in that, isn't there? And then on again, a slightly connected, but again, slightly different question. What advice would you give to your 18-year-old self?
18, oh God, what was she doing? 18, she was about to go to university. What advice would I give to 8? I guess, I mean, I'm from a sort of a line of work that's pretty serious. I think, we take ourselves a bit seriously in the law. And I suspect that, if I had to sort of give myself advice at that age, I would say everything's going to be fine. Same advice I give myself now. Everything's going to be fine. You're capable of doing everything you want to do and what you set your plan on. But I think relationships are really important. So making sure that you stay connected along the way, because it's quite easy to lose relationships along the way, whether at school or university or first job or third job or whatever it is, or clients and so on. So I think that quality, the quality of your life really depends on the quality of your relationships. And so I think holding on to the good ones and nurturing the good ones, I think that's an important thing. I'd like to pass that on to my children as well. And I don't know, have more fun, really.
That's great. I think you're the first person who said that the advice about relationships. I think it's absolutely true. So thank you for that. And what is it that inspires you to keep going through this for 18 years? What is it the source of inspiration for you?
I just love the next problem. So I was up until 1 a.m. today, and with one of my team members. I mean, we're sort of very happy it's Friday today and we're going to have a nice weekend, but we worked very, very hard yesterday. It's not often we do it, but we had to really get something done for a client. There was a deadline and it was quite complicated, and we were laughing, sort of very late, early hours of this morning, because we were really enjoying what we were doing. So I think that's what's really inspirational to me, is my clients, the problems they're trying to solve, the businesses they're building. I love my job. I mean, I really do. And that's why I like getting up in the morning. I like the next instruction.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Great. I like that. I love the next problem. I like that.
Mm.
Look, as a final thing, is there any news or any offer that you'd like to extend to the audience?
Oh, So I think that depending on who's watching this, and if they are in the audience, you know, of sort of startup businesses or founders building businesses, I actually run quite a number of webinars for seeders. And seeders, you know, we've done quite a few of those. And so there's a lot of free resources out there. So if anybody was interested in learning about shareholders agreements or articles of association or, you know, raising funds, term sheets and so on, then they can just sort of do a Google search for me and Seeders, and would come up with a host of webinars that I think are pretty useful. I've had some great feedback and they're totally free.
Brilliant. We'll maybe put a link in the description so people can see it there. That's great.
Thanks so much, Ed.
Thank you. Lovely to speak to you, Shainul, and it's great to find out about you in the business.
Thank you.